1987 in support of the national policy of consultation-based decision-making. Inspired by its vision of becoming the leading institution in labor and employment research and advocacy, ILS continues its commitment to promote good governance through the delivery of innovative, responsible, competent, and cutting-edge research and technical services along the full breadth of policy development process in the Department of Labor and Employment. It is our mission to deliver innovative, relevant, and responsive knowledge products and services on labor and employment through meaningful collaboration and cooperation towards promoting evidence-based policymaking. The Institute for Labor Studies is guided by its core values: integrity, excellence, public service, innovation, compassion. Behind each and every research is a group of keen, talented, and inquisitive civil servants with fresh insights in advocating for the creation of labor policies. These key ILS professionals continue to ensure that the ILS legacy of promoting evidence-based decision-making is evident in each and every study for recommendation and in all research collaborations conducted with all our stakeholders. The ILS has produced more than 500 researches and provided policy recommendations for more than 1,000 legislative bills, which were instrumental in providing guidance in crafting more than 300 laws, administrative, and department orders. The Institute for Labor Studies continues its legacy of being the premier research institute responsive to the needs of the Filipino workforce by providing policy recommendations through research and evidence-based decision-making. We shall realize this by continuously providing opportunities for our people who are at the heart of our work.
Apparent appears a sense of helplessness and lack of aspiration.
And when they saw this, we were able to get different economies to support us.
Conduct research because we want to find answers and solutions.
And we would like to welcome everyone to the 10th Annual Dole Research Conference, and we are so happy to have you all join Facebook live stream, and for those joining us via Zoom, and for everyone else who's currently on site at the Department of Labor and Employment, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar series of the $12 Research Conference. My name is Marvin. I am from the Institute for Labor Studies Advocacy and Publications Division, and I will be your host for this online event. Now, as we anticipate the fruitful discussions lined up for this morning, we would like to request everyone to please pause for a while for a short prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come to you with the humble hearts, seeking guidance and wisdom as we begin this
Wala akong audio.
morning. Heavenly Father, we come to you today with humble hearts, seeking your guidance and wisdom as we begin this program. Lord, we ask that you would bless every person who has gathered here today, and that you would be present with us in a special way. We pray that this program would be a time of learning, growth, and fellowship for all of us. Help us to listen to one another with open hearts and open minds, and to support one another as we strive to serve you in all that we do. Please give us the strength and the courage to follow your will and to use the gifts and talents you have given us to make a positive difference in the world. We pray all of this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. Now, to officially open the event, may we call on our OIC Executive Director, Attorney Mary Grace L. Riguer Teodosio of the Institute for Labor Studies, to give her opening remarks. Let's all give her a virtual round of applause.
Thank you, Marvin. Let me just check my video. Okay. Good morning, everyone, especially to former Undersecretary Rebecca Chato. I heard she's here, though I can't see her video. And also to Mr. Hideki Kagohashi of International Labor Organization, my colleagues at the Department of Labor and Employment, heads of attached agencies, services, bureaus, and employees of the department, distinguished scholars, my fellow researchers at the Institute for Labor Studies, other employees of the Institute, distinguished and esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. As you may all know, this is an annual activity organized by the Institute for Labor Studies, conducted first in 2012. This conference underscores the significance of fostering policymaking that is grounded on data and analysis and seeks to advance discourse and discussion on addressing gaps and policies toward moving toward the achievement of decent work in the world of work. For this research conference, the theme Gearing Up for an Inclusive, Innovative, and Sustainable Future of Work is anchored to the three key areas of the Labor and Employment Plan 2023 to 2028, which has just been adopted recently. So the three key areas are maximizing productive, remunerative, freely chosen, quality, and sustainable job opportunities. The second key area is ensuring respect for all rights at work, international commitments, and human rights. And the third is building an inclusive social protection for all. Given these key priorities and strategies, the research presentations today are grouped into three sub-themes: innovation, inclusivity, and sustainability. So lined up for today's session are the following research papers authored by Institute for Labor Studies researchers in collaboration with different partners, particularly partners from the Department of Labor and Employment Family. One of the papers is Evolving Governance Framework for Workers in the Gig Economy. The second is an overview of employment generation in select ecozones in the Philippines. These two will be presented today, and tomorrow for the second session, we'll have two papers again. One will be Towards a Human-Centered Agricultural Modernization Cases from the Philippines, and another is Exploring Innovative Approaches to Address Labor Exploitation in the Fishery Supply Chain, the case of tuna industry in the Philippines. So I extend my heartfelt congratulations and sincerest appreciation to our presenters and esteemed panel reactors from our tripartite sectors. Once again, I would like to thank all of you for your time participating in this important event. We hope you will gain invaluable insights and learnings from our research presentations and discussions with our panel reactors and attendees. It is only through our collective efforts that we can foster an inclusive, innovative, and sustainable future of work for Filipinos. Again, thank you and good morning.
Maraming salamat po OIC Grace for your message and for welcoming our participants for today. I know they are very excited with the research presentations lined up for our day one, but before we proceed with the presentation proper, we would like to acknowledge first, of course, our participants online, both from Zoom and Facebook Live, who took time and effort to attend our online conference. Batiin po natin ang isa't isa ng isang magandang umaga. Of course, gusto ko rin pong batiin ng isang mapagpalang umaga ang ating mga representatives from the different DOLE bureaus, services, regional offices, and attached agencies. Good morning po sa inyong lahat. Thank you po for continuously supporting our events here in ILS. And of course, happy 90th founding anniversary po sa ating lahat. The representatives from the different national government agencies are also with us this morning. Magandang umaga po sa ating mga kapwa kawani from DOST, TESDA, Department of Information and Communications Technology, Department of Justice at sa iba pa pong ahensya na kasama po namin ngayon sa Zoom. Maraming salamat po. Also, our tripartite partners are also present here in our Zoom meeting. Magandang umaga po sa aming partners and guests from the International Labor Organization, Fair Work Philippines, Palscon, Job Street, Boss Job, Federation of Free Workers, Industrial, at sa iba pa pong mga organisasyon at sa ating mga attendees both from Zoom and Facebook Live. Good morning po sa inyong lahat. So I know some of you are first-timers here in our annual Dollar Research Conference. So let us formally begin the presentation proper by giving you a short background about the conference. Since 2012, the Dollar Research Conference, hosted by the Institute for Labor Studies, has served as a platform for the Dollar researchers and other scholars to present their studies on key labor issues to policymakers, government program managers, and tripartite partners toward enabling evidence-based policy and decision-making processes in the promotion of decent work in the country. On its 12th year, this year's conference with the theme Gearing Up for Inclusive, Innovative, and Sustainable Future of Work aims to underscore innovation and transformative trends in the labor sector brought about by the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Relevant topics on digitalization, just transition, and accelerated transformations in the world of work are the main themes for this year's RESCON. The research presentations will be followed by a panel discussion composed of our esteemed panelists from the different government agencies, workers group, and employers group. The recommendations and insights of our esteemed panelists are instrumental in refining the final paper of our research studies being presented today. And now, without further ado, let's begin the research presentation by introducing our first presenters for this morning. To present their paper titled Evolving a Governance Framework for Workers in the Gig Economy, may we call on our presenters, Ms. Miraluna Takadao, Chief Labor and Employment Officer of the Workers' Welfare Research Division, and Ms. Mary Rosa Ribi Santo Tomas from the Labor and Social Relations Research Division of the Institute for Labor Studies. Let's all give them a virtual round of applause. Hi, Miss Mira. I think you're on mute po.
Am I share the screen? It's okay, may share my screen. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, ayan. So magandang umaga. Can you see my screen now? Right now, it's okay. Yan. Magandang umaga
Yes,
po.
Ma'am Mira, okay na po.
Ayun, thank you very much. So, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. So, I'm Mira Takadao from the Institute for Labor Studies, and together with me is Miss Rosie Santo Tomas. For now, we will present our study on the gig economy for this year, and we just give you a brief background that the Institute has started exploring the gig economy way back in 2019, where we study on platform work. Then followed by in 2022 at the height of pandemic, the working conditions of our essential workers, the delivery riders. We also did a study on that. And in 2022, we conducted a study on how we can extend social protection for this type of workers, the gig workers. So for this year, the Institute has embarked on another study on gig economy in which it focused on how could we govern workers in the gig economy. So this study is a collaborative endeavor of two technical divisions in the Institute, the Workers' Welfare Research Division and the Labor and Social Relations Research Division. So in this slide, makikita po ninyo yung research team who conducted this study. So, as we all know, kung familiar po tayo, the ILO World Employment and Social Outlook Report in 2021 has named the Philippines as one of the top suppliers of online labor. Kung nakita rin niyo po yung recent post ng World Economic Forum, the Philippines was ranked 7th place as the fastest growing remote hubs in the world based on a Nomad List, a platform where 10,000 plus members where they are working. So prior to this, in 2019, yung Pioneer Report on Global Gig Economy Index, it also placed the Philippines in the 6th spot as the world as the fastest growing market for the gig industry, which following year in 2020, we ranked first as one or fastest growing gig economy markets in the world with a notable 208% year-on-year revenue growth. Kung titingnan natin, if you think that gig work is a phenomenon from a developed country, it is a popular source of employment, especially on developing countries, according to a World Bank report in 2023. In 2022, Pioneers Philippines Freelance Market report that they have reported that around 1.5 million Filipinos are engaged in freelancing platforms doing such as content creation and customer service, both catering for local and foreign clients. So tayong mga Filipinos were in demand overseas kung mga kliyente ay galing US, UK, Hong Kong, South Korea, Taiwan, and United Arab Emirates. And in a Fair Work report released last year, it is estimated or there are around more than 400,000 riders and drivers in the Philippines working in the gig economy. Many Filipinos are engaged in gig work because of freedom and flexibility na attached sa ganitong klaseng work aside from the potential high income na nakukuha nila. So, what is the policy issue? So, while we all observe the transformation in the world of work, including the emergence of gig economy and the vast opportunities it created, there are some impact both on workers and on employers. So, in this slide, there are questions being raised on how the in terms of capacity and agility of our existing institutions, laws, and regulatory regimes to effectively respond to this transformation. The intersection of technological innovation and workers' rights presents a dilemma. So policymakers are challenged now to ensure that regulations safeguard the workers' interests, but also at the same time without restraining the innovative potential of gig platforms. So from the labor policy standpoint, one major issue is what might be the appropriate and effective combination of policy institutional instruments that will enable our stakeholders to take advantage of the opportunities while at the same time we manage the risk brought about by these transformations. So in this slide, you would see the objectives of our study. We aim to present an analytical framework, and we identify the opportunities and challenges based on this framework and what could be the policy recommendations to address the issues of comprehensive policy framework of gig economy in the Philippine context. So the study is qualitative in nature to gain a detailed understanding of governance of the gig economy and to uncover new insights and opinions, especially on the policy options that you would see based on the next slide, through structured key informant interviews and focus group discussions. FGDs and KIIs, we conducted and we grouped yung mga discussion groups natin, which includes representative of government agencies, including DOLE, gig economy companies, especially for ride-sharing and food delivery, gig workers, both for location and web-based freelancers, employers, and business representative groups. Using a structured interview guide, questions mostly evolve on employment relationships, issues arising on the gig economy, and their insights on the policy options. And these results and analysis were further enriched through desk research of related studies, relevant policies and jurisprudences, and administrative reports. So in this slide, the starting point, if you would notice, the starting point of discussion is between the parties involved in the gig economy that mostly revolves around two key aspects. First is defining their legal relationship, and second is how can we provide support. The legal relationship is determined whether there is a presence or absence of an employer-employee relationship, and the policy options includes retaining yung status quo, which is yung current po natin, which is factual determination, amending a law, or formulating an enabling law to address governance issues. These policy options are further discussed in the next slide and with my colleague later. So policy options presented during the discussions are initially identified. So we have an unpublished paper in 2022 in which policy options may naman identified doon. And based on those initially identified policy options, insights are based on what transpired during the FGDs and KIIs who agreed to participate in the study. The KII and the FGD participants may not entirely represent the whole gig economy in the country or will only look on a particular subset. However, the study considered two broad types of platform work, which is online web-based and yung mga location-based po natin. And they may not make any definite choice of which policy response is mostly preferred. However, during the discussions, it generated issues and valuable insights from our stakeholders. So what are the findings of our study? First is, we would like to ask them, ano po muna yung understanding nila of the gig economy? So all discussion groups have a common understanding that a gig worker provides on-demand, part-time, and temporary service in a flexible manner. And They have also a common understanding that these digital labor platforms serve as intermediaries in facilitating interactions between the customer or client and service provider. So generally, all discussion groups or KIIs are informants and FGD participants. They generally they see that the parties involved are the gig worker, the digital labor platform, and the client or the customer. So borrowing the illustration from the study of Stewart and Stanford in 2017, there is somehow a triangular relationship between parties that in place that somehow we could say that complicates current labor regulations. The digital platform acts only as an intermediary and provides a market for exchange of goods and services between the workers and the end consumers. And they see this also as a business model. The platform facilitates the interaction in a form of short-term transactions. It also created network effects and reducing cost and efficiency. So as one participant have raised, it connects the demand to the supply. So to illustrate yung triangular or how the platform works. So siguro ito po yung pinaka common and most popular gig economy example. So siguro malamang sa atin lahat tayo ay may mga Grab app, Grab Food app, Food Panda app. So driving for a ride-sharing or food delivery company is one of the most popular and widely recognized gig economy examples. These gig jobs involves transporting passengers or delivering food and other items to customers. Drivers for companies like Grab use their vehicles to drive people from one location to another. And another example, kung meron po tayo mga kakilala or meron po ba tayong mga kilala na they're working on Fiverr or Upwork, yung mga digital platforms na ito, na kung saan these types of platforms allow businesses to connect to freelance talent that can quickly fill their own skills gap and help them to scale up for a short period of time. For example, I'm a business owner who would like to design yung website ko. So, kung maghahanap ako ng website designer, I would just look onto those platforms kung sino yung mga may portfolio on website design. So, pwede akong makatanggap ng mga proposals or I can offer proposal to those type to accommodate those type of services. Yeah. Further, all discussion groups unanimously reiterated that gig workers are independent contractors. So we asked them, what is the prevailing employment relationship? So for them, gig workers are independent contractors. Independent contractors are individuals engaged in providing services in exchange for a fee but are not considered employees and are not entitled to benefits and protection as traditional employees. Often referred as freelancers or on-demand workers, gig workers generally represent a shift away from traditional employment models. So based on the discussion groups, they see that gig workers work in an autonomy and they often have the flexibility to choose their own hours, their work arrangements, and hire for specific projects or tasks. So, ito po yung mga recurring na mga sagot nila. They are not bound to any single employer and they can work with multiple clients simultaneously. So, this independence offers them the autonomy to choose projects or to choose tasks that align with their interests and expertise. So, now we go with the employment relationship. So, majority of we asked them, if you're familiar with DOLE issuance on labor advisory number 14 in 2021, the employment relationship were enumerated. Kung ano po yung mga existing tests of employment relationships. Nandun yung control test or the fourfold
Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the technical difficulties. While we are fixing the presentation of Miss Takadaw, gusto lang po namin batiin ang aming mga kaibigan from Tech for Ed ng Department of Information and Communications Technology. Nakikinig po sila ngayon sa Pampanga. Good morning po sa inyong lahat. And also, Miss Cheryl Soriano from Fairwork Philippines is also here. Good morning po, ma'am. Maraming salamat po for attending our online conference. And also, Prof. Benjamin Velasco of Soler is also listening right now. Maraming salamat po for attending our online conference. Let's see if sino pa po ang ating mga guests from our Zoom attendees. By the way po, don't forget to kindly fill out our attendance sheet. I-up po namin from time to time yung ating attendance sheet for attendance monitoring. I think nandiyan na po ulit si Mamira. Mamira, just give us a heads up if okay na po tayo to proceed with our presentation. So again, don't forget to fill out our attendance sheet. I-up po namin yung form from time to time for attendance monitoring. While we are waiting for Ms. Takadaw, we would just like to remind everyone to kindly utilize our Q&A button here in our Zoom for your questions. So we will accommodate all of your questions right after the panel discussion.
So, I think I'm back.
Hello again, Mamira. Sige po, the floor is yours po.
Ayun. So I'll just repeat my slides. So gig workers are so a while ago we asked our one of our questions in the FGDs is we asked them, how do you define the gig worker? Ano yung kanilang ano? This time we asked them, what is the prevailing employment relationship of these gig workers? So they are they're agreed naman unanimously. They have the common answer that gig workers are independent contractors in nature, and gig workers, in terms of their work, they work in autonomy and usually for multiple clients. They often referred as freelancer or on-demand workers that generally represent a shift away from traditional employment models. So yung autonomy na sinasabi, they mean that they have the flexibility to choose their own hours and work arrangements, and they were hired for specific projects or tasks. And it is also a recurring answer that gig workers are not bound to any single employer and can work with multiple clients simultaneously. So this independence offers them the autonomy to choose projects that align with their interests and their expertise. So now we go to employment relationships. So in employment relationships. And this time, currently, yung legal relationship of parties involved in the gig economy in the country is still determined on a case-to-case basis. Majority of the discussion groups have attested the adequacy and robustness of these existing tests, which were enumerated dun sa ating DOLE Labor Advisory number 14 issued in 2021, which is fourfold test, the control test, the economic reality test, and the independent contractor test. However, the workers group underscored the need to improve this test to keep abreast of the ever-changing world of work. So there are two tests that have been mentioned. Ayan. The two tests that are being mentioned in this slide is yung ABC test and the 5-factor test. So these tests, in two separate interviews, these tests are mentioned, and in this slide, you would see the brief description of these two tests. So generally, participants shared that it is very important, as it is employment relationship is very important since it determines the rights and obligations between an employer and an employee determines the rights and obligations between employer and an employee. And also, it is regarded by the ILO as a legal link between an employer and employees. Yes. Ayan, so, yan. So in next slide, so it appears that the determination of the legal relationships involved in the gig economy is the central concern. However, as we go along with the discussion with the several discussion groups, there are other employment-related concerns that are being raised. So most of the discussion groups agree that the emergence of the gig economy changes the nature of work. The nature of work changes in such a way na how we work, how we earn it, and as it enables work to provide services flexibly and work with multiple clients. From the discussion groups, they also, while there are these changes taking place, there are also pitfalls that they have recognized, such as income volatility and the absence of social safety nets associated with traditional forms of work, which has led to another critical policy question whether gig work should be classified an employee or an independent contractors without the risk of misclassification. Discussion groups also asserted that existing labor market regulations must adapt to the evolving work patterns. So they see that there's a prevalence of short-term contracts, freelance work, on-demand engagements, but with this evolving work patterns, they see that there is a need to ensure gig workers' rights are upheld while allowing businesses to respond to changing market conditions without stifling innovation and unintended consequences. What are these unintended consequences? So they think the increased business costs or even the potential loss of flexibility for workers. All participants in the FGDs and KIIs have also characterized gig economy with demand for flexible work arrangement where individuals can work on project by project, task by task basis, or yun nga yung recurring na answer, working for multiple employers or clients as opposed to traditional full-time employment. So this has changed the way that many businesses or companies think about hiring and staffing. So the presence of a flexible workforce, businesses has enabled to expand their talent pool. They can both cater to or avail of local and international talents, which can lead to diversity and even the round-the-clock services. And through the general platforms such as Upwork and Fiverr, diversity serves businesses has enabled to access on varied skills such as encoding, such as creative designers, software developers, finance experts, among others. But there's one interesting insight that was raised during the KII, that online marketplaces connects demand and supply. So the on-demand nature puts the business model to deliver products and services immediately to users' orders and enable real-time job and skill matching. While we reap the opportunities brought by the gig economy, nare-recognize pa rin that there are challenges, particularly on institutional arrangements. So we have laws primarily designed to protect the interests of traditional employees and do not comprehensively address the unique needs and vulnerabilities of these gig workers. So ngayon nga po, they often classified as independent contractors. They find themselves in uncertain position when it comes to traditional labor protection. So yung current enforcement and dispute resolution functions of DOLE are only applicable to one employer and employee relationship. When it comes to social security, they do not enjoy the same levels of protection afforded to an employee. So they observe that the absence of these comprehensive benefits as well as din sa mga dispute resolutions mechanisms is a major concern that most of our interviewees have highlighted, and they recognize the need to address to ensure the well-being of our gig workers. And equally surveys and company-initiated studies or reports. There is one time that PSA attempted to include a rider question on our labor force survey to gather statistical information on gig workers, particularly on May and June 2021 LFS round. The proposed rider question aimed to capture the online-related occupations in gig workers who are engaged in digital platforms. For the key informants, an accurate gig economy statistical outlooks is very crucial, especially on labor market policy and regulatory purposes. So based on the analytical framework presented in the previous slide, we can see the jump-off point is the determination of legal relationship of parties in the gig economy, whether they have an employee or employer relationship, independent contracting, or some other work arrangements. So we have sought the insights of our stakeholders as for each policy option kanina na nabanggit namin, including its opportunities and challenges. And to present these relevant insights from our stakeholders, I would like to turn over the floor to my colleague, Ms. Rosie Santo Tomas.
Thank you, Ma'am Mears. Good morning po sa ating mga participants sa Zoom and on Facebook Live. So my colleague will share the screen for the discussion of findings. Okay, so to continue the discussion of findings in this section, we are presenting the possible legal relationship of parties working in the gig economy, namely whether they have employer-employee relationship, whether they are independent contracting, or are they in some other work arrangement. So in this section of the findings, stakeholders gave their insights, including opportunities and challenges on each policy option. So for our first policy option is retaining the status quo. Currently, the practice of determining employment relationship is based on question of facts or factual determination by the courts using the tests earlier mentioned by Ma'am Mears, which are the fourfold test, economic reality test, and independent contractor test. In addition to this, the Supreme Court rulings also vary from one case to the other. Wherein the Supreme Court may rule that one gig worker may have, sorry. Okay, thank you. So wherein the Supreme Court may rule that one gig worker may be an employee of a platform company and the other may be an independent contractor. So most of the discussion groups agreed on this. However, for the workers group, as we can see here on the screen, they stated that by default, employment relationship should be presumed, employment relationship of gig workers rather should be presumed, since the key discussion here is that there is no meaningful distinction between an employee and a worker because they are often revolves around the notion that both are refers to individuals who perform tasks or provide services in exchange for compensation. So for the second scenario, we have recognizing gig workers as employees. So the second policy here, most of the discussion group sees that a law which provides a presumption of employment is restrictive rather than proactive. Moreover, the policy option is said to be hard to implement since work in the gig economy is bound by short-term contracts, and gig workers often have this flexible work arrangement, and they also work for multiple clients. For the workers, it is a favorable policy option since by default, their employment relationship should be presumed as workers. So the key discussion in this scenario is that this would entitle gig workers to legal protections such as minimum wage. However, this policy, as the platform group said, threatens the business model behind the gig economy. So for the third scenario or policy option, we have here recognizing gig workers may be both employees and independent contractors at the same time. So all the agencies, employers group, and platform group unanimously had the same answer, which said that it will create confusion since employees and independent contractors dilutes this the essence of freelancing, particularly the terms of freedom to do work flexibly, completing tasks at your own expense, and working for multiple clients. So there's a necessity to differentiate employee and independent contractors since our current laws treat them differently. So independent contractor are under the laws of contracts under the new civil code, while employees are under the labor code. So during the discussion, we have introduced and mentioned that there are bills pending in the House and Senate pushing for the protection of freelancers and delivery riders. So all interviewees agreed that these bills provide protection for them, for gig workers specifically. Further, workers group agreed that labor standards must be granted to everyone regardless of the type of job that they are engaged in, as mandated by the Constitution to be given to all workers. So this policy option highlighted that labor standards must be granted regardless of the employment status or whatever type of job you are engaged in, as stated in the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. So here, we can see that the DOLE agency suggested the idea of using labor standards as baseline for crafting independent contractor arrangement. It also opened the discussion of various approaches, such as developing a model contract or contract template to help clarify the rights and obligations of the parties and facilitate enforcement in case of non-compliance and dispute. For employer groups and platform groups, they mentioned a code of practice as a way of self-regulation or voluntary compliance with the standards. They also mentioned that this is an effective alternative tool than the mandatory regulation. And for the workers group, as we can see here on the matrix, they also stated that labor standards must be applied to all workers, as mentioned earlier. So, however, in this kind of system, if we want to classify them and fit into legislation, and in order to be valid and constitutional, they also must comply with the constitutional requirement on substantial distinctions. It must be, first, they must have a substantial distinction. Second, this distinction must be germane to the purpose of the law. Third, it must not be limited to existing condition. And fourth, must be applied to all members of the same class. So for the fifth policy option, This is related on the notion of creating a particular class of worker. The fifth policy option is to develop a specific category of workers for gig workers. So all key informants agree that this could be helpful, but the criteria and basis for categorizing another type of worker must be accurate, and there should be a data that is readily available. But with this with this policy option, however, collection and analysis of data is essential. However, meron po tayong kakulangan pa sa data since ang hirap po i-capture ng mga gig workers. What constitute gig workers? Sino-sino ba sila? Ilan na po sila? Their numbers are ever changing po. So what might be a relevant data this year might be different next year. So next slide. Okay, for the sixth policy option, which is undertaking administrative reforms like dispute resolution. So the proposed Freelance Protection Act, it is the bill currently nasa Senate po siya in a committee level. It expands the DOLE's enforcement in dispute resolution function by covering situations not arising from employer-employee relationship. However, the existing structural and administrative mechanisms of DOLE are not designed for this purpose. So the DOLE agencies in here, as we can see on our screens, SENA is currently being provided by NCMB. They said that gig workers na merong reklamo, they can always request for mediation under SENA or the single entry approach. However, the DOLE agencies do not agree with the proposed additional division solely for gig economy. Instead, they suggested to review and renew the relevant provisions of the labor code pertaining to conciliation, mediation, the jurisdiction of NCMB and NLRC before revising the 0151-16 or the IRR for SENA. So for the platform groups, they also admittedly they stated in the interviews that there are no departments that currently regulates gig economy, especially gig workers. However, as a solution to this, they offered internal mechanisms for grievance dispute. Our platform groups also raised the industrial arbitration courts like the ones in Singapore. I believe here in the Philippines, we have the OADR, or the Office of the Alternative Dispute Resolution. And for the workers group, they said that pending bills includes provisions for grievance machinery, which actually lodged to the Department of Labor and Employment. So for the next policy option is extending social protection to gig workers. So all interviewees recognize that they don't have employer-employee relationship, and freelance and delivery platform riders are not entitled to basic labor standards except security legislations like SSS, where they can register and be they are registered as self-employed and they can voluntarily contribute. So hence this concept of portable benefits or portability of benefits is introduced by workers group and employers group, since gig workers often have the opportunity to work with multiple clients or move from one job to another. Work benefits are not tied down to just one particular job or company. So it only means that a worker can own their benefits whether they are working from a different platform or different clients. So in reference to the previous slide, undertaking administrative reforms and extending social protection to gig workers, the key discussion point is that the necessity to extend labor market regulations to everyone. So platform groups in this regard, they mentioned that some platform groups offered to facilitate voluntary contribution to our gig workers. And while DOLE agencies stated that a law mandating the social protection of gig worker is really a must. And it could be that clients and customer may shoulder a part of the social security of gig worker. So pwede pong sa bawat kada bayad po sa ating mga gig worker, may tinatabas po doon for their social security. So here po yung summary ng ating policy options. So positive response means it is favorable or they are in favor of the policy option. Negative means it is infeasible or problematic. And neutral response means they do not have a clear side taken, but however, they provided their insights. Okay. So for the last section of our findings is the support for the gig economy. So regulating gig economy is complex and necessitates broader frameworks. Policy measures should be addressed to the workers, location-based, whether they are location-based or web-based, and tailored to their unique needs, as mentioned by Ms. Mira earlier. So regardless kung ano yung kanilang employment relationship, we must find a nuanced approach between promoting innovation and safeguarding the rights of the workers. So for the gig workers here, they obviously need to establish a criteria to avoid misclassification and providing resources and education to help them understand their rights, navigate the gig economy, and advocate their interests effectively. So here po yung kanilang mga suggestion to properly regulate the gig economy, while platform workers provided here that there is a need to ensure that gig economy business for it to function optimally and for the ease of doing business, especially sa age ng digitalization and e-commerce. They are currently maximizing economic opportunities here, and also they are also providing ethical practices para they can balance out both the needs of the gig workers as well as their business model. So, for instance, we have the improvement on physical infrastructure and promotion of technological innovation will help increase productivity and compliance, but may contribute also to simplify operation. So as business operation, ethical and fair practices, for example, voluntary code of practice is promoted that would protect workers' right and ensure compliance with labor laws. At the same time, foster a culture that values entrepreneurship and self-employment. Encourage gig workers to explore opportunities for innovation and growth. So ayun po yung ating suggestions from the platform group. Next slide. So for our, here is the proposed and support framework for parties in the gig economy. So based on the insights previously discussed, it appears that there's a need for a holistic look on how gig work should be governed, but it also needs a support framework. So from the findings, here is our governance and support framework. So for the policy recommendation, first we have here is assess the labor dispute resolution mechanism. So the research team would like to underscore that this is the low-hanging fruit, which can offer positive opportunities for parties involved in the gig economy, and also to quickly make progress on their goals, as well as to quickly address their grievances. Paano po ba natin ito mai-implement? First, we need to amend the enabling laws of DO 151-16 or the IRR of SENA, which are the articles 224 or the mediation and conciliation or jurisdiction of the NLRC. We also have Article 234 on mandatory conciliation and endorsement of cases, Article 275 on jurisdiction of voluntary arbitration over other labor dispute. And we also have labor Rule 4, Section 6 of DO 15-2000-16 or the IRR of SENA. In here, if we cannot expand the jurisdiction of the NLRC and NCMB on conciliation and mediation, perhaps we can help our gig workers to by referring their cases to OADR or small claims court. Kasi what happens is that most of the time, if there are no prima facie evidence that they are employee of a certain platform, most of the time the NCMB would dismiss their case. So by amending it and having a direct referral to our alternative dispute resolution offices or small claims court, mas mapapabilis po yung paglutas ng kanilang mga grievances. So our second policy recommendation is reinforce social dialogues through tripartite groups. In here po, a tripartite advisory council or technical working group composed of concerned government agencies, platform companies, and labor groups can serve as a consultative and advisory mechanism, which will help in defining the nature of work applicable, as well as applicable standards and terms of employment, and identify the necessary social protection in the platform economy. So through this tripartite group po, a voluntary code of good practices can be drafted towards self-regulation if that's what they ought to partake. So for our third policy recommendation, we have improved learning and development. So in here, we are raising awareness about the benefits and challenges of the gig economy to guide potential workers and students in making informed decision whether they would want to partake in gig work. Through this, we are incorporating new forms of work such as gig work in the labor and employment education services, or understanding the gig economy as an elective course under the Labor Education Act or RA 11151, which can help understand the good, the challenges, and the future of the gig economy to help our students make informed decisions. So for our fourth policy recommendation here, we have improved data gathering. So good policies such as having a clear definition of a platform work requires good evidence. Moreover, to capture the size and contribution of the gig economy, reliable sources of data and indicators are needed. So the gig economy thrives on innovation and adaptation. As I've mentioned earlier, data are relevant this year, may not be relevant next year or few years ahead. So to stay competitive, gig workers must continuously update their skills. We also offer, or rather provide constant skill development as a crucial for gig workers to remain competitive in this rapidly growing market. So for our last policy recommendation, which is incorporating gender lens on policy. So through here, we are mapping the gig economy from a gender lens to understand the different models that exist and the implication of the same for women workers, since this type of work promises flexibility and autonomy. So the gig work has the potential to create new opportunities for gender equality, but at the same time can reinforce gender stereotypes. It can be found that some of the key attraction of gig workers, such as flexibility, are often disadvantages to women. So flexibility has been found to be more important for women, particularly in relation to family commitments, such as managing their household and taking care of their children. So there is also an intrinsic gender characteristic linked to different skills and occupations. For example, female gig workers are less likely to be hired for male-type jobs like software development, but more likely to be hired for female-type jobs like writing and translation or VAs. Hence, it is crucial to mainstream gender into the policy framework. So gender disaggregated data is required to understand the scope and size of the platform economy and also to ensure that both men and women can access social protection. So that is our last slide. Thank you po for listening. I will turn over the floor to Mr. Marvin.
Thank you, Rosie, and thank you, Ms. Mira, for your very insightful presentation on gig economy. Now, as we previously mentioned, representatives from various agencies will serve as panel reactors to this paper. Thus, for this morning, we are very happy to have joined by our esteemed panelists from the national government agencies and tripartite partners to share their valuable insights. Now, please allow me to introduce our first panel reactor for this morning. Our first panelist is currently the Chief of the Plans and Policy Monitoring and Evaluation Division, or PPMED, of the Department of Information and Communications Technology of the Philippines. Ms. Ramos oversees ICT data generation and consolidation in support of the DICT's ICT policy and planning agenda. Her team has pioneered the conduct of the first Philippine National ICT Household Survey, dedicated solely to ICT indicators and aligned with the ITU Core Household Indicators. Recently, they had just completed with the Philippine Statistics Authority another landmark national survey on women and ICT development. Ms. Alana holds degrees in Anthropology and Information Studies from the University of the Philippines, where she also lectures on ICT for development. Everyone, let us all welcome Ms. Alana Gorospe Ramos of the ICT. Let's all give her a virtual round of applause. Good morning, Ma'am Alana.
Good morning, Marvin, and good morning to everyone who are here this morning, listening to this very interesting presentation on the gig economy. And first of all, well, I would like to apologize on the quality of my video. It's not very clear, but I hope you'll bear with me on this technological limitation that I have. So I hope also my audio is clear. So if yes, I'll proceed. So, yeah.
Ma'am, we'll just introduce also the second panel reactor before we go with our comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Alana. So our next panelist is the union representative and the national coordinator of National Union of Food Delivery Riders of Sentro ng mga Nagkakaisa at Progresibong Manggagawa. Everyone, let's give a virtual round of applause to Brother Joffrey Labudahon. Good morning po, Sir Joffrey.
Good morning, mga kapatid.
Ayan, good morning po. And now to moderate our panel discussion, may I please call on Ms. Joanne Comilo, Senior Labor and Employment Officer of the Labor and Social Relations Division of the Institute for Labor Studies. Ms. Comilo, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank the researchers. Thank you, Marvin, by the way. I would like to thank the researchers for that very insightful presentation on gig economy. Before we start, I would just like to share, during the first part of the research conference, which was held last November 28 and 29, one of our discussants explained how the term gig was coined. It started out with the musicians, it was during the hype of the jazz music. So the gig was a slang for engagement, yung mga concerts nila and performances. Then it became a slang word for jobs that last for a period of time. But as we advance to digital age, hindi na lang musicians yung engaged in gig work, meron ng delivery riders, meron ng freelancers, may individual contractors na, and meron na rin mga part-time workers. It's controversial, not just in the Philippines, because of its emergence and yung mga concerns arising when it comes to workers' protection. In the Philippines, as mentioned earlier by our researchers, kahit mayroong labor code, there's no specific provision yet covering the individual contractors or the gig workers. And the very purpose of this activity is to elicit yung meaningful discussions natin regarding the study and its findings. So I guess we're ready for the insights or the comments from our panelists. For our online participants, we would like to remind that we will entertain questions later on. So you may prepare them ahead while we hear from our panel reactors. So let's start po with Ms. Alana Ramos from the ACT. Your insights and comments po are welcome na po, ma'am.
Okay, so good morning again to everyone. And again, I'd like to thank the Institute of Labor Studies for this invitation extended to the DICT to be able to comment on the paper entitled Evolving a Governance Framework for Workers in the Gig Economy. So before then, allow me again please to congratulate the authors led by Ms. Mira Takadao and Ms. Rosary Santo Tomas, as well as the rest of their team who have come up with a very comprehensive discussion on the key points and challenges of a framework for workforce governance under a gig economy. As we all know, and this has been emphasized in the presentation earlier, the future of work is rapidly changing due to technology. Access to the internet in the Philippines by households based on 2 national surveys of the DICT shows that access to the internet grew significantly from 18% in 2019 to 77% in 2022. And this shows the potential of each household member entering the gig economy. So this is a significant jump from pre-pandemic times to a post-pandemic era. And it shows that the gig economy flourished under the pandemic, and it seems it is here to stay. The gig economy is definitely a growing segment of the Philippine economy. Again, this was presented during the presentation earlier. According to a report by GCash and Payoneer, there are currently 1.5 million Filipinos registered in international online platforms for freelancing services. This figure can actually be much more. According to Payoneer's Global Gig Economy Index, the Philippines placed 6th in the world as the fastest growing market, with a 35% growth in freelance earnings. Again, this was cited earlier in the presentation. Thus, we believe that this is a very important area of study as a way to understand workers and other perspectives of stakeholders in the gig economy. The findings describe the gig economy phenomenon in the Philippines, highlighting growth and innovation using digital platforms on the one hand, and the need for social protection of workers on the other. Barriers to entry in a gig economy is quite low, as anyone with access to the internet, those who have a smartphone, and those with sufficient skills to navigate the platform can avail of the vast opportunities of platform work. While data is admittedly scarce, the study is able to discuss the definition of the gig economy, the challenges inherent in certain types of employment relationships, and the current triangulate relationship of employer, platform, and worker, including harmonization of several existing policies relevant to gig workers. It's quite obvious from the FGDs, as we see, that expanding social protection to include gig workers is considered a key pillar in the evolving governance framework based on the research study and analysis. So from the title and the word evolving itself, perhaps the following suggestions can be explored further in future studies. And these are some of our humble comments, if we may propose them. There may be a need to further study the gig workforce to determine how it is segmented according to sector, industry, types of services, and demographic characteristics. This can lead to determining trends in workforce employment and the design of more responsive policies and capacity development that are more focused on the segmented platform workforce. Number two, platform companies can be more engaged and their perspective studied in more detail as we only know them as facilitators or intermediaries, as the presentation said. There is not much study on their use of technology and algorithms, especially those used in emerging technologies right now, such as artificial intelligence. And they also, there is also a need to look at their adoption of cybersecurity and data privacy rules. So these are just some of the study perspectives that perhaps platform companies can be more engaged and maybe more studies can be done. From a technology standpoint, the study would benefit further from describing the types of devices that are most preferred by workers and the platforms that are accessed. Also, their experiences with connectivity in their areas. This will give the DICT an idea of where to prioritize infrastructure development, although at the moment there is an effort to identify geographically isolated and developed areas and build the connectivity there. From a data standpoint, the framework can include a monitoring and evaluation strategy to ensure proper monitoring of new policies and their impact, as well as ensure data availability. DOLE can collaborate further with data stakeholders in coming up with a realistic estimate of the size of the gig economy in the Philippines, a methodology to harmonize different data sources from national household surveys, from macroeconomic indicators on the digital economy, and other data sources can help policymakers and researchers understand the gig economy's contribution to the GDP and will help, as the study says, to understand trends, challenges, and market dynamics. It is also perhaps important to look into market dynamics and stakeholders in other sectors, such as at the IT BPM sector, that may look at the gig economy as competition, as workers move to the latter for greater flexibility and independence under a less formal business structure. Maybe this can be a matter for further study of why workers readily give up formal employment and paid benefits to join the platform economy. The DICT looks forward to collaborating with DOLE and other national government agencies on furthering the diffusion of digital technology to provide livelihood and economic opportunity to all Filipinos. It also appreciates studies such as this paper to provide different perspectives other than technology to enrich the agency's knowledge of other sectors' challenges and help determine how digital interventions may help address these challenges. The National ICT Development Agenda, which the DICT hopes to launch early next year, may perhaps offer a number of strategies for digital infrastructure development and provisions for policy formulation that will hopefully be a boon for the gig economy and discussion by stakeholders to ensure an equitable development of this sector. So I hope those comments were very useful, and I thank everyone for giving the DICT this opportunity to share its comments, and I wish everyone a pleasant morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much din po, Ms. Ramos, for the insights and comments regarding the gig economy's paper. We can all agree po sa sinabi ni Ms. Ramos, no, that the gig economy is a growing economy, though there is no exact figure pa, but it was estimated according din sa study na there are 16 to 23% of the 44 to 45 million employed labor force are engaged in gig work. So if titingnan natin, it's around 7 million to 10 million. Medyo mataas po yung number, no? And we also appreciate po yung comment on the technology. Very relevant po siya since gig work is heavily dependent sa technology. And we also appreciate po yung commitment to collaborate po with the department since we are really working towards providing our co-Filipinos po ng decent work kung kahit saan man po siyang sector. So maybe the researchers po have anything to add po dun sa insights and comments po ni Ms. Ramos.
Thank you, Ma'am Director Ramos, for providing those insights. So, as a researcher, for me, it provided another lens on the technology side, on the infrastructure side. So, looking forward rin po kami, as you have mentioned, for collaborating for this. Siyempre, the gig economy is flourishing na siya. Hindi na siya emerging, nag-emerge na talaga siya. Then, ang inaakala lang natin, peak niya is during the pandemic, but after we're opening the economy, meron pa rin talaga nag-i-stay on this type of work. And so, thank you very much, and we'll take note of your suggestions and comments, Director Ramos. Thank you po.
Thank you so much din po, Ma'am Mira. I guess we're okay na po with that. We can move forward po to Central's Representative Brother Joffrey Rabudahon's insights and comments naman po. Sir, Brother Joffrey, the comments and insights from me po are welcome na po.
Sige, konti lang pero magandang umaga ulit sa lahat, pati sa mga kasamahan namin sa Rider Centro na nasa Zoom. Ako, okay lang naman mag-Tagalog, no? Yeah, sige. Ako okay na dinidiscuss na natin to ngayon, in particular yung gig economy. Nagpapasalamat din kami na naging bahagi kami ng research at bahagi rin kami sa magbibigay ng mga rekomendasyon ngayong araw. Kasi una, nagpapasalamat kami sa participation. Una, nababawasan yung pag-red tag sa amin kasi nagiging bahagi kami ng research ng gobyerno. Pangalawa, nagbibigay ito ng legitimacy doon sa ating union na diretso yung ginagawa natin. At for the delivery riders itself naman talaga yung benefits. Ikatlo, hanggat hindi kasi natin to pinag-uusapan ay lalong lumalaki yung issues, lalong dumadami yung problema. Yung burden nito ay sinasalo ng mga kasamahan nating delivery rider. So, yung una na nakita ko, for the comment lang, ay hindi, although nabanggit to na kaunti ni Ma'am Alana, ay ano ba yung nagtulak, ano yung nagbigay ng motivation dun sa mga formal employee to ship dun sa gig. For an instance, no, sa mga delivery riders, kailangan meron kang motor, meron kang cellphone na na makakasabay dun sa technology. Tapos kailangan mong magbayad ng uniforms, kailangan mong bumili ng additional na bracket para sa motor mo. So merong something na nag-motivate sa kanila na lumipat. At marami kaming kilala marami kaming members na ang paliwanag ay yung kita talaga. Yung kita, yung walang boss, walang control sa kanila yung kanilang platform, no? In fact niyan, yung iba ay kilala pa naming mga talagang nurse, merong mga nagtatrabaho sa mall, so on and so forth. So yun, baka maganda din na tingnan din natin yung pag-ship nila. And yung iba talaga, marami ay naapektuhan nung pagkawala nung trabaho o pagsasara ng kanilang mga kumpanya. Kaya lumipat sila sa gig. Kasi yun lang yung tingin nila ay available na hanap buhay on that time, no? Siguro isa pang nakita ko, wala talagang sorry to say, no, hindi mabilis yung pag-generate nung job sa ating bansa. Kaya nag-i-stay sila doon. Meron din kaming mga kasama, mga members na tawag dito, parang mas okay pa sa kanila na bumalik na lang doon sa formal employment kaysa mag-stay pa na ganito yung sitwasyon nila sa gig, no? Yeah. Tapos, ito na lang, mga kapatid, mas apat lang na suggestion. Yung una, baka lang din nare-reflect natin na kino-consider din natin yung OSH, yung Occupational Health and Safety ng mga delivery riders. So I can say doon sa lente ng mga delivery riders kasi yun naman yung mas maraming member namin. Talaga, kailangan natin yun. Hindi pa tapos yung COVID, no? At mainit na naman ngayon sa QC yung pagtaas ng mga bilang. May mga karanasan tayo na yung mga delivery riders ay let's say may mga ospital na kailangan silang pumunta ron, sila mismo yung maghahatid sa room kasi ayaw tanggapin to ng mga security. So kung sana wala na, kung merong susunod na pandemya darating, so sana may batas na magtitingin doon sa ganun. Pangalawa, yung areas nila, pinag-i-stayan, yung tambayan, wala silang available na tubig, so on and so forth. Yun, baka i-check natin yun. Pangalawa, yung matrabaho to pero sa tingin ko kailangan yung inspection. Na-deputize ako kasi naging bahagi kasi ako ng mga deputy na labor inspector noong 2017 yata 2018, no? Kami yung mga pioneer na nag-train yan. At nakakasama ako sa pag-i-inspect, in particular sa hotel industry. Tapos, kung ito ay gagawin sa gig, mahirap to, no? Mahirap. Pero challenge yun sa atin. Pero kung gagawin natin yan, ang laking tulong yan para makaisip tayo o makahanap tayo ng window para magkaroon ng maayos na policy para sa kanila. So yun. Ikatlo, ito adjustment na lang din. As long as wala pa tayong policy, lumabas na yung isa talagang puntahan nating una ay yung SENA. Unfortunately, mga kasama, no, hindi ko naman to nilalahat. Baka dapat magkaroon din ng adjustment doon sa mga DOLE staff, in particular doon sa mga nasa front ng SENA. Kasi meron kaming karanasan na hindi sila tinatanggap. Paano hindi tinatanggap? Parang kasi sinasabi, hindi yan covered ng DOLE. Kasi independent contractor kayo, dapat kayo yung nag-uusap, bumalik kayo sa opisina. So may ganun kaming mga experiences. Hindi ko na lang, siguro sa isang formal na pag-usap ko na lang i-divulge yung mga names ng staff, tsaka anong mga areas to. So baka dapat mayroong adjustment na rin doon. Since yun, as in wala pa yun talaga yung unang target na puntahan o sumbungan ng mga delivery riders ngayon. Pang-apat, nabanggit na to kanina ni Ma'am Alana ulit. Gusto ko lang din diinan yung data privacy. A week ago, merong isang platform na nangihingi naman siya technically ng tawag dito, ng approval to check yung phone, to check yung mga apps. Pero kapag nag-disapprove ka, hindi ka pumayag, masususpended ka at hindi ka makakabiyahe o hindi ka magbabagsakan ng booking. So, worst thing, kailangan mo, para magtuloy yung hanap buhay mo, kailangan mo i-accept. So, ma-access ng isang delivery platform company yung phone ng mga delivery rider, no, ng mga worker. Yeah, so, maganda rin na lumabas na magkaroon tayo ng regulasyon diyan. Panglima, mas suggestion din. Pero ito yung sinasandalan namin as union ay yung bias, yung labor code naman tsaka yung constitution, nakabias yan sa labor o sa mga manggagawa. So as long as na wala pa tayong mga bagong polisiya, wala pang naipapasa na freelance protection na batas o Magna Carta for gig workers, ay yung labor pa rin yung aming sasandalan as of now. Yeah, sa tingin ko yun lang muna mga kasama. The rest naman ng mga inputs namin ay nabanggit niyo naman po sa inyong presentation. Salamat po dun.
Thank you so much po, Brother Joffrey. So, yes, we agree po na concern po tayong lahat dun sa protection of workers kahit sa ang sector man po siya, informal, formal, or dito po sa gig economy. Diinan lang din po natin yung yung suggestion po ni Brother Joffrey on checking kung ano ba yung motivations nitong mga gig workers natin. Is it because kinikater dito yung lifestyle nila, mas malaki pa yung kita, bukod sa mas malaki yung kita, mas okay ba sa kanila na handle nila yung time nila, no? Also, yung nabanggit kanina ni Brother Geoffrey about OSH and the inspection, those are all covered po by the department. So we really have to check kung ano pa po yung pwede natin gawin on that. And yes, meron pong suggestion about the policy tsaka sa data privacy na na-cover na po ng mga researchers kanina. But maybe the researchers can shed more light po doon sa mga comments and suggestions po ni Brother Geoffrey.
Ayan. Okay. Magandang umaga po ulit. I do agree po dun sa mga thank you po firstly sa inyo pong mga comments, and I do agree po dun sa OSH standards po natin, especially sa ating mga riders. This is a good area of study po, further studies. Especially yung mga, kasi several malls lang din po yung nagpro-provide yung mga pwedeng tambayan po ng ating mga riders. And apart from those, siguro din po yung mga insurances din po ng ating mga riders, whether platforms, whether they provide ample insurance for our riders in case of accidents and emergency. Tapos po dito sa, katulad din po ng comment ni Miss Alana, yung motivation po ng ating mga gig workers, yung shift po nila from being a formal worker to a gig economy, to a gig worker rather. And ngayon po, na-mention din po ni Brother Geoffrey yung kanilang pag-shift from gig economy to formal work. This begs the question na gaano ba ka-sustainable din yung ating gig economy dito sa Philippines, and maybe it's really high time to have regulations to them para sa ating mga gig workers. And lastly, yung sa adjustment po dun sa ating SENA, I also agree with that na currently po kasi ang mga ating SENA staff po, when they see that yung mga documents po ng ating mga gig workers or mga delivery riders na wala po silang evidence that they are employees of this platform companies, mayroong tendency po talaga na ma-dismiss. That's why earlier po dito sa aming research na we advocate po sana sa amendment po ng ating DO sa SENA na instead of dismissing their grievances, maybe we could refer them to other departments such as the OADR, or perhaps sa small claims. Sa small claims court naman po, hindi po natin kailangan ng abogado dito. Pwede, at saka pro forma po lahat ng ating mga complaints dito. So maybe we could look into that po. So ayun, marami pong salamat.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rosie. I would just like to check po if we have anything to add po doon sa mga nauna nang nabanggit from the panel actors, the researchers. Okay, if there are no comments po or insights from our panelists and researchers, we'll be proceeding to reading the questions from our online participants from FB Live, and if meron din po dito sa Zoom. So first question from FB Live po, no, from Jean Torres. Good morning. I may have missed a discussion in gig workers setting rates. My question is, how do they feel about competing gig workers that set rates way below generally accepted rates for the industry? I understand that it may be competition and a marketing tool for those who set lower rates, but is it illegal to set rates at lower than usual? So anyone can answer po?
Siguro dun sa question ni Sir regarding dun sa rates, although hindi siya na-capture dun sa present study namin, but when it comes to rates, I remember when we did a study on platform work in 2019, the issue of race to the bottom was raised. So meron talagang, especially on the creative industry,
we're just having technical difficulties po. We'll just wait po until Mamira po is okay na po with the connection. In the meantime po, I'll try to read comments na lang din po from one of our participants. Um, uh, Mamira, are you okay na po with your connection? Okay. Let's just proceed po muna with the comment. This is one comment. There needs to be an openness to interrogate the labels, intermediaries, and independent contractors because these are discursive, communicative labels driven by platforms themselves and that society as a whole has tended to accept. By automatically accepting that platforms as mere intermediaries and platform workers are mere independent contractors across the board, there is a tendency to absolve them of critical employment responsibilities. The intermediary category may be true for some remote work platforms, but some location-based platforms organize labor management such that they are not merely intermediaries as they enact match control over workers. Also, workers are not really independent because many workers fully depend on platforms, not just for livelihood, but also for rules that platforms enact on their own with limited to no meaningful consultation with workers. So katulad po na nabanggit kanina ni Mamira, yung sinasabi po siguro dito na workers who are not really independent, yung mga workers hired through Upwork or yung Fiverr. Mamira, maybe we can go back po doon sa dinidiscuss po ninyo. Then we'll go through this comment or your insights po. All right. I guess hindi pa po okay yung connection ni Mamira. Ms. Rosie, do you have anything to share about the comment provided po by one of our participants online? This is from Fair Work PH representative Prof. Cheryl Soriano. So ayun daw po. We need to be open daw po to interrogate the labels ng intermediaries and independent contractors. Sorry. Mamira, are you okay na po with your connection?
Ayan, okay.
Ayan, yeah. Let's spark the answer of Ms. Rosie po doon sa comment from the Fair Work PH. Let's continue po with what Mamira was discussing po earlier.
Ayun. So i-share back dun sa sa sinasabing rates. Back in 2019, the issue of race to the bottom, especially on the creative industry side, nare-raise na siya kahit din yung mga encoding, transcriptions. Ayun. So nung na-touch din siya nung 2019 study namin na meron talaga mga gig workers na not rely on that, pero parang during that time ay wala silang magawa para makakuha sila ng job. So para makuha nila yung job na yon, nagkakaroon sila ng race, na-experience nila yung race to the bottom. So siguro kung para maiwasan natin yung mga ganon, and marami ring namang mga groups, especially on freelancers group, na they are also educating yung those individuals who would like to engage in this type of work na ito yung not really standard pero ito yung rates na for halimbawa for encoding, may sinasuggest sila na ito yung rates na if ever bumaba man dyan is pag-isipan mo kung talagang kukunin mo siya, mga ganon. So I think yun din yung isa rin mga nare-raise. So I think education din dun sa mga ating mga gig workers is nakakatulong, especially dun sa mga groups, yung mga freelancers group, whether it's specific sector man siya, nakakatulong rin na mag-exchange sila ng mga information, ano rin ba yung mga prevailing rates on that. And in terms of, kasi nabanggit yung competition, we ask them naman on the delivery riders, kung during that time, nung height ng pandemic, naramdaman ba nila yung competition with tumaas ba yung kita nila? Kasi nga, pandemic, hindi
Right. I guess there is a problem again with the connection. Maybe we can go back doon sa comment from Fair Work PH. Yes, Miss Rosie, your insights po.
Yes. Earlier din, ayan, sorry. So earlier then, we've also flashed sa screen yung policy option na merely kasi yung sa comments ni Miss Cheryl, sorry, from Fair Work is that merely recognizing them as independent contractor nga is it's not the end all be all because hindi po natin pwedeng sabihin na like from at least from the jurisdiction of DOLE without being ultra vires din sa ating courts at saka without divesting the courts of their jurisdiction in distinguishing or differentiating whether a worker is a independent contractor or an employee of the platform. At the end of the day, and as far as our policies, our current policies are concerned po, it is entirely up to factual determination po ng ating mga korte, ng ating NLRC. It is within their jurisdiction to determine whether they are independent contractors po ng platform companies or they are employees. So babalik po ulit tayo sa question ng fourfold test, and ultimately yung importanteng category po under the fourfold test is the control test. So whether the platform is exercising control over the gig workers, especially sa ating mga delivery riders, is entirely up to the determination of the courts for now po. So if ever yung low-hanging fruits po natin or yung ating achievable policy options po na pwedeng maibigay sa ating mga gig workers, especially sa mga delivery riders, is yung grievance mechanism and resolution po sana na expanding the DOLE's jurisdiction in conciliation and mediation, so that without categorically determining whether they are employees or independent contractor, maibigay po din sana sa kanila yung dapat na yung mga karapatan po nila or yung karapatan po nila sa fair wages po nila sana. So ayun po yung aking comment sa Fair Work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rosie. Yes, no, in the meantime, while we're waiting na makapag-establish tayo ng policy framework or governance framework para sa gig economy, we can all agree na we should focus doon sa mga low-hanging fruits or yung mga achievable nga na policies or yung mga available options po natin para maproteksyonan po natin yung mga gig workers. So, I guess okay na po ulit si Mamira, we can go back, but I would just like to add no regarding dun sa question dun sa setting of rates. I don't know if everyone is aware, but I guess it was last week nung na-highlight sa social media yung mga rates for freelancers or the freelance workers, especially the writers, no? Katulad nung nasabi kanina ni Mamira, it's helping the workers, the gig workers, para ma-set yung rates nila and para malaman nila kung ano yung dapat nilang natatanggap when it comes to their to the quality of their work and the quantity of their work. Yes, Mamira, do you have anything to add pa po?
Ayun. So, i-reiterate ko lang din na since nga wala yung workers, nagre-rely din sila sa mga groups nila, freelancers group, kung saan rin pakapag-set ng rate din. So, cautious lang din sila na hindi nila ma-experience yung race to the bottom issue. So, I guess that's it po.
Thank you so much po, Ma'am Mira. So, for the interest of time, as much as we would like to answer more questions from our online participants, we're down to our last question po muna, no? This is from former Yusek Chato. The question is the option or viability of disentangling the exercise of workers' rights and entitlement of benefits from the employer-employee relationship explored in the light of the evolution of work arrangements, increasing non-standard employment, which include gig work, digital or otherwise, increasingly with advances in technology way before the pandemic, work no longer confined to formal arrangements as the research data indicates. The current governance framework appears a square peg. So that's from former Yusek Chato po. Anyone po can answer? Maybe we can hear first from our researchers po ulit.
Insights yun po na nabigay nila. So yung disentangling, lumalabas din siya dun sa ano, especially when it comes to social protection. So madalas kasi yung mga social protection entitlements natin is nakakabit dun sa ating formal arrangement. So there are discussions rin opened on portability of benefits. Kung halimbawa hindi na siya kakabit, kasi since the gig work is your short term nga lang siya, then iba't iba rin yung nagiging kliyente mo. So it's yung disentangling, mas yung portable of benefits pa yung lumabas during the discussion, especially on social protection side. So yun po, dun siguro in the near future, pwede rin siyang ma-explore on how could be operationalized po dito. That's a very good insight po.
Thank you so much po, Ma'am Mira. Ms. Rosie would like to add something po doon sa insight po ni Ma'am Mira. Yes, Ms. Rosie?
Yes, since na-tackle na din ni Ma'am Mirs yung portability of benefits, because it is, we are in an observed situation na before we could grant workers or anyone that is working, yung general term of workers, certain social protection or benefits, we must first stop operating within the paradigm of whether they are not, whether they are employee of a platform. So I think it is very important na regardless na ma-distinguish ka as employee of a platform or just worker, without the formality of work as under the labor code. I think it's really important din po talaga na we give them sufficient social benefits din po. So it's very crucial na we stop operating in the paradigm of whether they have employer-employee relationship for them to be granted benefits. So I thank you.
Thank you so much po, Ms. Rosie. Yes po, Brother Geoffrey?
Ako add lang, hindi sa ngayon, hindi pa siya option sa amin. For the riders community ay ang tingin kasi namin sa independent contractor ay dapat may say ka kung magkano yung gusto mong kita. 'Di ba? May say ka kung saan mo lang gusto mag-deliver. May say ka kung ano lang yung gusto mong i-deliver. So as long as na walang ganung pag-uusap sa amin, hindi kami sa aalis dun sa na dapat hindi kami aalis dun sa posisyon namin na dapat meron kaming karapatan o mga benepisyo na naayon doon sa ating labor code.
Thank you so much po, Brother Geoffrey. Those are all noted po, no? Again po, for the benefit of time, we have to wrap this up. I would just like to summarize. But first, we would like to thank first our researchers and our panelists and also our participants for imparting worthwhile concepts about gig economy. We've covered a lot about its current situation, yung sustainability, the challenges, yung mga ways forward for the pertinent stakeholders and also the policy makers. We're sure that this will be useful sa ating mga researchers and the participants, no? Yung mga participants na researchers then for their current studies on labor and also sa future studies po natin. So I guess everyone is okay na po with the comments and insights. If we don't have anything to add po, I would like to give the virtual floor back to our host, Mr. Marvin Cabangnay.
Thank you so much, Jo, for moderating our panel discussion for this session. We also thank our presenters, Ms. Takadaw and Ms. Santo Tomas, for presenting their paper on gig economy. And of course, sa ating mga panel reactors, Ms. Alana Ramos of DICT and Brother Joffrey of Centro, maraming salamat po for joining us today. Now, let's proceed with the virtual awarding of the certificates for our panel reactors. To present the award and to present and award the certificates of appreciation, may I please call on once again our OIC Executive Director 3, Attorney Mary Grace Higuera-Tedosh.
Thank you, Marvin. So thank you so much to everyone, and of course our researchers, our presenters for today, and of course the members of the panel of the actors for our the first day or the first session of this webinar series. So we thank of course Ma'am Alana Ramos of the DICT, specifically the National ICT Planning, Policy and Standards Bureau. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your insights and of course enriching the discussion on the topic of the platform of workers or the rights and benefits of workers in the platform economy. And also we'd like to thank our constant partner in our research undertaking. So our brother Jeffrey Labudahon of Centro, he's the National Coordinator of National Union of Food Delivery Riders, known for sharing knowledge and expertise as member of the panel of reactors for our session today. Thank you so much, sir, and also for being accommodating our heartfelt appreciation.
Welcome, Attorney. Salamat din sa inyo.
Thank you, ma'am.
Perhaps before we conclude our first session, may we request our panelists once again to kindly open their cameras for the photo opportunity. And our tech team will assist us in capturing the photos. Okay. So, take po ako ng photo in 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay po, one more. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay, thank you so much po to our panelists and thank you, Ma'am Grace, for presenting the awards. Again, maraming salamat po kay Ma'am Alana and Brother Joffrey for joining us today, and we hope to invite you once again in our future events here in the Institute for Labor Studies. Maraming salamat po. And now, perhaps we can proceed with the second paper presentation for this morning to present their paper titled An Overview of Employment Generation in Select Ecozones in the Philippines. May I please call on Mr. Bernard Paul Mangulabnan, the Acting Chief Labor and Employment Officer of the Employment Research Division of the Institute for Labor Studies. Let's give him a round of applause. Good morning, Sir Bern.
Magandang umaga. Thank you, Marvin. Can you allow me to share my PowerPoint presentation? Ayan. All right. Okay. Marvin, could you please confirm if you could see my slides?
Yes, sir. We can see your slides po.
Alright.
Loud and clear
Okay.
naman po yung audio.
Thank you, Marvin, and magandang umaga po ulit sa ating lahat, and thank you for coming. Thank you again for coming to the presentation of our paper titled An Overview of Employment Generation of Select Ecozones in the Philippines. And it's an honor to present this paper on behalf of our research team composed by Ms. Francis Camille Dumalaog, yours truly, and Mr. Dieter Navarrosa. So mga ka-office mates ko po yan sa Institute for Labor Studies. So ganito po so magla-lunch na po. I'll promise to keep my presentation simple and short. I will introduce you to some of the concepts or the context of the study, what are the research objectives, what methodology do the research team use for this mostly qualitative research, and then we will provide and discuss our findings and recommendations. So this study is largely about ecozones. So it is impossible not to mention certain laws like Republic Act number 7916, which created the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, or what we know today as PEZA. And then it also created the framework for the granting of incentives to enterprises who wish to locate inside economic zones. So under RA 7916, they have this monetary benefits, among others, income tax holidays numbering 4 to 8 years. And then the law also provides non-monetary benefits like multiple visa entry and up to 75 years of long-term land lease. Okay? So that's RA number 7916. So we have a very recent law that was passed at the height of the pandemic, Republic Act number 11534, or what we know as CREATE Law. The CREATE Law, among others, lowered the tax being levied to corporate income, rationalized the incentives offered by investment promotion agencies like PEZA, among others. So ang IPA network ko, hindi lang din ho ang PEZA yan, meron din ang Board of Investments ng DTI, SBMA, yung Clark Ecozones, and others. So it rationalized incentives, and curiously, RA 11534 included a specific conditionality in granting fiscal incentives. So kapag ang enterprise pupunta sa PEZA or any IPA, it has to provide a proof of concept that the investment would provide a direct local employment. So under the law, it provided a definition for this particular term, direct local employment. And I'd like to quote it. Direct local employment is the full and decent employment of Filipinos registered business enterprise under an employer-employee relationship to perform functions directly related to the production of goods or performance of services under the registered project or activity. So ang mga keywords po dyan ay full and decent employment. Yung in-employ ay Pinoy. And then it should be couched under an employer-employee relationship. So ibig sabihin, regular at hindi contractual. So direct local employment. So curiously, it has a definition, a specific conditionality in granting fiscal incentives. It wants the law wants to connect it that the investment should create direct local employment. So in this slide, we would just like to show the distribution of operating ecozones as of December 2020. I am sure may mga nadagdagan po ito since na-provide sa amin na data na December 2020, pero I'm very sure it's predominantly ecozones relating to IT, information technology parks and centers, and then pumapangalawa po ang mga ecozones relating to manufacturing. And then we also have ecozones related to agro-industrial, tourism ecozones, and medical tourism. So if we translate it into percentages, so overwhelmingly, our ecozones in the Philippines or administered by PEZA are belonging to the information technology. And second is the manufacturing. So ano ho bang objectives ng papel ho namin? So number one, we would like to analyze employment generation trends of ecozone administered by the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. The second is we would like to describe and analyze the profile of workers under these ecozones administered or governed by PEZA. And the third is we would like to document labor market concerns of locators inside these ecozones. Our methodology is largely a mixed method approach. We are very thankful that our partners in this activity or in this research activity, PEZA and TESDA, they were very generous enough to provide us data that we needed to complete our study. Thank you very much po, PEZA and TESDA. So largely descriptive statistics, analysis of descriptive statistics provided by those two agencies. We also conducted a literature review, and then we also the study is a very quick overview research. So and hampered by time constraints and budget. So ang na-interview ho namin ay mga 8 ecozone locators, and then we also counterbalance it with interviews with our public employment services offices and various government agencies like the trifocal education agencies, CHED, DepEd, CHED, TESDA. We also interviewed PESA as well. So dako na po kami sa findings. So ang slide po na to, what does this slide show is that as of April 2023, around 1.8 million Filipinos are employed by our ecozones administered by PEZA. So kung titignan po natin on so we requested a decade data. So from 2012, ang ini-employ lang ho ng mga ecozones in total ay around 900,000. Pero as of April 23, they are numbering now already 1.8, 1,809,217. And if we translate it to to an average year-on-year growth between 2012 to 2023, that's 6.61%. So the study would like to note that the ecozone facilitated an exponential increase of employment generation over the past 10 years. So among the 1.8 million, predominantly ay Pinoy naman po. And we are very happy that it jive with the direct local employment na kailangan Pinoy ho yung employed. So 99.54, and only less than 1% are numbering foreign nationals. I believe these foreign nationals are those occupying highly technical occupations and executive positions. In terms of gender disaggregation, the study would like to note that the employed population in ecozones are predominantly female, around 55%, and around 45% are belonging to the male population. So we are seeing an increasingly feminized working population in ecozones. In terms of those occupying the executive positions, again, more than half are belonging to the females, 51.79%, and those in the male executives are numbering 48.21%. That is as of April 2023. In terms of employment trend by year and industry, again, IT po ulit ang nagdo-dominate sa ang top 1 employment generator or top 1 employer, those belonging to the information technology. So I believe these are the ecozone locators belonging to the information technology and business processing outsourcing. And then again, second in line is the manufacturing related enterprises that located in these ecozones, around 705,809 employed persons as of April 2023. In terms of the regions, saan ho ba nag-concentrated ang employment? So makikita po dito sa slide na to ay karamihan ng employment ay nabuo sa National Capital Region. Kung mangalawa po ang Region 4, Region 4A, and then we have Region 7, the Cebu Province, Region 3, the Central Luzon region, and Region 6, 52,596. So Region 6, ito ho yung Iloilo-based Panay region. So ano ang key insight ho dito? Karamihan ng ating ecozones ay nasa urbanized areas. And I'd like to note that years ago, I think the government implemented a temporary ban in creating ecozones in the NCR so that we could encourage employment outside urban areas. But recently, I think this temporary ban was lifted by the president. And then in terms of direct employment, so ang pinrovide ko na data ng PESA as of April 2023, mas marami po ang direct regular. Ibig sabihin, these workers are engaged in regular employment. May employer-employee relationship, and they are directly related to the investment that was approved or that was incentivized by the CREATE law. So around 1.3 million people. And then, of course, there are a number of casual, contractual, and outsourced employees na directly related sa production or sa investment that was incentivized, around 255,000. And then, of course, we have also indirect regular. Ito ho yung mga employees that are not directly engaged with the production, like for instance, the maintenance personnel and other contractual personnel. So around 130,000 employees. So with those data, what are the findings that we would like to offer to our audience? So number one, the study notes the difficulty in meeting the skills demand of the changing labor market. And perhaps this is a recognition that most of the ecozone locators are belonging to IT. So there is an emerging need for digitalized occupations like data science, software development, robotic engineering, and cybersecurity. And we'd like to note that the country may not have enough supply of workers trained in these fields. And a data that we have gotten is that, in fact, there was a decline of workers taking up ICT-related trainings between the data in comparison is 2016 versus 2022. It also appears that there is a concentration of TESDA certified and assessed TESDA trainees belonging in the National Capital Region. And currently, these assessment centers and assessors are usually located in the top 3 regions that we have identified a while ago. So, laging nasa NCR, 4A, and Region 3. In terms of the training regulations that are existing under the TESDA framework, so meron hong na-identify ko dito from game programming NC3 until animation NC2. So, nung nag-interview ko kami, a key informant commented that most of the training regulations may not be sophisticated to meet the current demands or the current pacing of artificial intelligence applications. In fact, ang example ho niya ay yung 2D and 3D game art development NC3. Ang current na nire-require na ho ngayon ng market ay at around 6D or 7D. So kung ganun na ho ang nire-require ng market, ang ginagawang adjustment ng mga ecozone locators ay usually they would send their Filipino workers abroad so that they would be trained there, and then they would come here to come back. They would come back here and then mag-knowledge transfer sila sa company that send them abroad. So AI skills may not be embedded in this promulgated training regulations, and it's going to be a challenge in the coming years ahead. So we need to a bit more we need to be a fast regulator when it comes to this changes in the labor market. And then those educational institutions near ecozones may not be agile enough to adapt quickly to the skills requirements for an evolving technological landscape. We note that some of the processes in approving IT-related curricula would undergo several layers of approval processes, which make it challenging for them, for educational institutions to promptly introduce new courses to reflect on the latest industry trends. And of course, it's very important that the teachers will require upskilling to teach these latest technologies so that they could teach these concepts effectively. And we would like also to note that funding for new courses can be a complex and competitive process. Ecozone locators often find it challenging to assess the skills and requirements of senior high school graduates. A recent PBED study notes that only 20% of the leading companies in the country are open to hiring SHS graduates, senior high school graduates. And according to data from the Bureau of Curriculum Development, tracer study of DepEd, among SHS graduates for 2017 and 2018, only 10.22% and 1.30% can become employed or self-employed. The fourth one is a general observation among the ecozone locators that we interviewed, and they observed that the graduates belong to Generation Z were viewed as risky hires, citing that they have inadequate soft skills, a low emotional quotient, and underlying motivation preference in performing the jobs that were assigned to them. The fifth one is we note that there is a growing need for skills related to cybersecurity. This is an indication that cybersecurity threats are a perennial issue in our digital landscape. There is a gap in terms of the supply of our cybersecurity experts. In fact, in a report conducted by TESDA way back 2020, they mentioned that our country's HR are in these fields, in cybersecurity fields, are sorely lacking, with only 84 certified information system security professionals in 2016. But there is a good news. The ICT has this program related to ICT development, and they have recorded 1,520 people taking up cybersecurity as their topic of concern. Sixth finding would be there is an emerging desire for telecommuting arrangements among workers of IT locators. So work from home, especially those belonging to highly technical employees, they would prefer to work from home or avail flexible work arrangements. And in fact, there is some considerable controversy when FIRB lifted a certain regulation of work from home. This is why some ecozone locators transferred from PESA to BOI just because of this change of regulation when it comes to work from home. The seventh finding relates to our public employment services offices and their linkages with PESA. We'd like to note that collaborative interactions between PESA and PESA are still largely limited, perhaps because PESOs are located in LGUs, and PESA, by the nature of their regulations and their activities, EcoZone locators would not prefer to have their requirements processed in LGU. So perhaps baka doon po yung one cause ng weak linkages. But it's one area of improvement because public employment services offices, they have a very important role to play in terms of spatial labor market information planning. So again, there's also the challenge of institutionalizing pesos, and it's still underway for some of the local government units near ecozones. So we come to the last parts of the presentation. So our first recommendation would be improving labor market information exchange between ecozone locators and educational institutions, in particular the colleges and universities and TVET centers near ecozones. As the findings may note, malaki pa rin ho ang information asymmetry. So may skills requirements na hinahanap ang mga ecozone locators. Then you need to communicate it to this labor supply institution so that they could produce the right kind of graduates that will fit to the requirements of the enterprises. It would be an ideal scenario that the graduates will be located near the ecozone locators. So an improvement of interaction between ecozone locators and educational institutions would be a very important road to lessen the gap of skills mismatch. Second recommendation is again reinforcing information exchange between DOLE and PESA. The study would like to note that may mga existing programs na pwede na natin i-reinforce ang relationship between DOLE and PESA in terms of decent work employment, especially that the CREATE law has mandated IPAs, or investment promotion agencies, to check whether enterprises that were granted by incentives are creating direct local employment. And it is within the mandate of DOLE when it comes to decent work employment. Just recently, this Labor Day, may pinirmahan po na Memorandum of Agreement ang PESA and DOLE in promoting industrial relations in special economic zones. This needs reinforcement in the light of the findings that we mentioned. Maganda rin ding opportunity to between two government agencies to upskill their coordination capacities, the skill to synthesize and synergize and managing information asymmetries. So this is like how do you coordinate policies? How do you ensure that your right hand knows what your left hand is doing? And then, of course, improving data collection of employment generation is a good collaborative project between DOLE and PESA for national development planning and monitoring and evaluation. The third recommendation would be strengthening collaborative and iterative interaction among the locators, PESA, DOLE, public employment service offices, and educational institutions. So yung first naming recommendation is to strengthen HEIs, the educational institutions, and the ecozone locators. The second recommendation relates to reinforcing relationship between DOLE and PESA. The third one is bigger. The strengthening of relationships among all the stakeholders inside the ecozone. Specifically in co-creating location-specific policies and contextualizing national, international policies and trends. So just recently, the President signed a very particular good law, Digital Workforce Competitiveness Act and Trabaho para sa Bayan Act. These are some of the laws that pwedeng gawing collaborative project. How we may contextualize it according to the conditions of the ecozone. We have also a law called Green Jobs Act, So it's not only jobs that being created, ang pinopromote rin ay kailangan din climate-friendly jobs. And then we have also these persistent issues, how we may contextualize these terms: lifelong learning, 21st century skills, artificial intelligence, and digital labor market intermediation. These are very big terms, very big policies. The challenge is how to contextualize it according to the conditions of the ecozone. And ang nakikita ko namin na magandang low-hanging fruit ay there should be a way, there should be a information revelation mechanism na mag-uusap-usap ang lahat ng stakeholders and share freely information so that we could address certain information asymmetries in the labor market. And then the fourth one is, of course, we belong to a research agency, and it's in our interest that data is accurately and properly collected. And we are quite aware that it's part of the deal between PESA giving incentives and the enterprises who receive these incentives to report the direct local employment created under their projects. So perhaps it might be a way to sweeten the deal, perhaps incentivize locators' cooperation in generating and submitting quality and accurate data on direct local employment for the purpose of national development planning, monitoring, and evaluation. Pag nagawa ko natin to, it's an enabling factor to establishing a good correlation study about employment generation and fiscal incentives under the ecozones. That ends my presentation. Kung may tanong po kayo, you are please do it so during our Q&A, or kung hindi po kayo ma-mention during the Q&A, please feel free to email us at erd@ils.do.gov.ph. Thank you very much. Marvin. Marvin, naka-ano ka yata? Naka-mute yan.
Thank you, Sir Bern. And thank you, Sir Bern, again for your insightful presentation. Now, let's move on to the panel discussion. So please allow me to introduce our set of panelists for our second session. Our first panelist is the officer in charge of the Public Information Division of the Quezon City Public Employment Service Office, or PESO. Joining us this morning is Ms. Maria Teresa D. Labrador of PESO, Quezon City. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Hello, am I audible? Can everyone
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
me?
Audible naman po. Sige po. So,
Thank you.
hello, ma'am.
Yeah, hello, hi. So, does this mean I'm the only panel discussant for today? Sorry, I'm actually on another event right now, but for this one, we are really thankful that Quezon City was chosen to be one of the LGUs to be interviewed with regards to the overview of employment generation in selected ecozones in the Philippines, because during the interview that time, if I'm not mistaken, it's around maybe second quarter ba? Nung ginawa yung interview, second or third quarter. So by then, we also realized on our end that talagang, based with the discussion of Sir Bernard, there's really a weak linkage between PESO and the ecozones. And during the time that we had this interview with regards to this paper, with regards to this study rather, that's the only time that we were able to really focus on the ecozones in Quezon City, particularly. Na oo nga, no? We are really, not necessarily neglecting because we have a credit registered, but yeah, this study actually made us realize and learn more about them and what are really the possible collaborations that we can do with them. What are the needs of these companies and stakeholders who are part of, who are PESO registered stakeholders. And we would like to thank, of course, the ILS for having this comprehensive study and research because uh, it really helped us, our organization, to study even more with regards to the stakeholders within our city and within NCR as well because hindi lang naman sa Quezon City, merong industrial economic development zones. But because of this study, we were able to explore stakeholders who are PESA registered, what partnership can we offer with them, and how can we, you know, maximize the partnership that we can have with them. And mas dumami, pa yung opportunity for Quezon City PESO. And these opportunities open more opportunities, not just for the LGU, not just for PESO, but of course for our Q citizens as well, and the non-QC residents who are availing our programs and services in Quezon City. And actually, the paper effectively highlighted the key findings related to employment generation in the eco zones in the Philippines, particularly in NCR. And seeing the findings, it really shows us that there are still more room for improvement, for more program developments that will also intensify the collaborations of these ecozone companies. And also the statistical data and evidences presented are also robust, and it also supports the overall analysis of this research. It has also these implications for, of course, the policymakers, the business partners that we have, and the other stakeholders that also involved in the development and management of the eco zones. And I think these are, this study will also provide practical and direct link for us to be able to identify the issues with regards to the employment generation of our stakeholders who are under the eco zones. And also, it would be beneficial, of course, for us to explore the potential obstacles on our end and the barriers that might, it might hinder the success implementation of the programs and services or the collaborations that we might develop in the future with our partners. And we were able to consider as well some of the alternative solutions of what are the programs or the possible partnerships that we can have with them. And yeah, I'd like to comment as well yung mga findings na nakuha natin because it really, it really shows us that we still have more things to learn and we still have more that we can do to provide, of course, help not just to our beneficiaries, to our clients, but of course, hindi lang kasi natatapos sa job seekers yung clients natin eh. We must also consider our stakeholders because they are the ones helping us to provide decent employment to our beneficiaries, to our walk-in clients. And this also opens opportunities for us to strengthen the, in case of Quezon City PESO, to strengthen the capacity of our organization in providing trainings for the Q citizens, for us to be able to help these stakeholders or our partners from the eco zones with competitive job seekers who are in need of relevant trainings for them to be able to get hired with those mentioned what do you call this, for those job mentions under the eco zones companies. And for NCR, we all know that IT and BPM is one of the key employment generators in the National Capital Region. And for the eco zones here in NCR as well, yan din yung nanguna na key employment generator. That's why we are more than willing to help, of course, and partner with TESDA in providing such trainings. And we are really hoping that we can develop further programs and we can also provide them with trainees and also to capacitate as well the pesos, not just Quezon City peso, but all the pesos in NCR and the Philippines, so that we can strengthen the partnership and we can help them develop more programs or more, well, to do, develop more programs that can help us in generating employment for our citizens, and of course, so that the LGUs, the pesos, can also help DOLE, TESDA, and the other linkages from the national government para kami ay makatulong din sa employment generation ng ating mga companies under the eco zones in NCR. Because at the end of the day, ito naman yung advocacy natin. That's why we are here right now. And that is to provide decent employment for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Labrador of PESO, for providing your comments and recommendations on our paper on EcoZone. Those are very well noted po. But before we ask the response of our presenter, please allow me to introduce first our second panelist for this session. So we are also joining today by the OIC Division Chief of the Enterprise Services Division of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Let us all welcome Ms. Evelyn Rose B. Lumbis-Mogal of PESA. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for patiently waiting po.
Good morning, sir.
And now at
Okay.
this point, we will now begin our panel discussion. So I will now turn over the floor again to our moderator, Ms. Jo Comino. Jo, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Marvin. Thank you so much po, Miss Maria Teresa from QC Peso, and also Miss Mogo from PESA. So as mentioned po earlier, yung ecozones po, no, nag-proliferate na siya over 5 decades in the Philippines. So medyo matagal na rin. So it's just time talaga to know how this contribute to the employment generation, or if there are any situations that should be looked into to address the bottlenecks. As mentioned earlier din po dun sa mga findings, there are hard to fill occupations in ecozones, and more of this is in IT sector. This case is not only true in the Philippines kasi the International Monetary Fund projects that the tech talent shortage will increase to 85 million by 2030. Medyo mataas po siya, no? That is why one of the recommendations din po na ating mga researchers provided focused on educational reforms and skills anticipation so we can keep up with the demands. So again, we have invited po panel reactors with relevant expertise and application dito po sa topic natin on ecozones. So we're ready po for additional insights and comments. May I call on po Ms. Mogaw from PESA for comments or insights po sa paper po ni Sir Bern.
Okay. Am I clear po ba? Okay. In behalf of our Director General, Teresa Opanga, and the PESA management, I would like to thank the DOLE Institute of Labor Studies for the privilege of being part of this research conference and to be able to comment on the study on employment generation of select ecozones in the Philippines. I would also like to acknowledge the research team of ILS, Sir Bernard, Sir Dieter, and Ms. Camille. Magandang tanghali po sa ating lahat. And relative to this, PESA continue to remain true to our mandate of promoting investments, generating exports, and creating employment for the Filipino people. More importantly, we have included our mission to spur countryside development through the ecozones. And through the years, we have increased our presence outside of Luzon, and the multiplier effects of our ecozones have effectively facilitated growth in the regions. And to date, rural communities continue to be transformed into bustling urban centers. And a whole slew of commercial establishments, shops, restaurants, recreational areas have derived excellent business where ecozones are. And likewise, we continue to be a driving force that introduces innovation, business solutions, and a sound business environment for our investor, locators, and business partners. And PESA not only intends to transform its registered enterprises to be more competitive in the local and global supply chain, but also encourages them to be more sustainable, resilient, innovative, and eco-friendly that shall also steer social empowerment, improve the quality of life for our fellow men, enhance the transfer of technology, and promote long-term environmental and health standards in our ecozone development. And that is why we are implementing various initiatives to enhance the competitiveness of our ecozones and cope with the demands of the global market. And for the coming years, we have also identified priority sectors on top of the registrable activities in PESA as our blueprint to attract investments in the Philippines. And these industries are first the advanced manufacturing, second is the extractives or the mineral processing, agriculture and blueprint industries, fourth is the IT services, and frontier technologies, eco-industrial park development. These are the renewable energy, alternative energy, clean water and wastewater treatment, circular economy, SDGs, green buildings, smart systems and integration. And fifth is the science, technology, and innovation. And lastly, the integration of SMEs into the ecozone value chain. And a key addition to this is the integration of SMEs into the ecozone value chain. What we want is not just our ecozones to grow, but including our SMEs that support the operations of our locator companies, without which we cannot provide a better ecosystem for our investors here in the Philippines. And with the Ecozone program as a key driver of green growth, PESA aims to ecozoning the Philippines towards inclusive and sustainable development. And thus, the PESA is looking forward to partner with DOLE, Institute of Labor Studies, to conduct further studies on the impact and effect of employment in the PESA ecozones and surrounding communities vis-a-vis the overall employment in the country. And maraming salamat.
Thank you so much po, Ms. Moga. So I would just like to go back din po no sa nabanggit na kanina ni Ms. Rai Labrador. We would like to highlight yung collaborations tsaka yung partnerships kasi it really helps complementing yung mga resources na wala sa ibang agency, na meron naman sa ibang agency. And we would also like to highlight din po yung efforts po, no? Yung pagtiting po natin ahead para magkaroon ng mga programs and interventions na mag-a-address naman doon sa mga future problems or future issues dito po sa employment generation. And also, ang ganda po nung ng strengthening ng capacity po natin for the existing tsaka yung future needs naman po ng mga constituents, especially doon sa Quezon City. Also, we would like to underline po yung nasabi din ni Ms. Mogaw, no? Yung sustainability at saka yung pag-i-improve po ng quality of life ng ating mga workers. Pati na rin po yung pag-cope sa demands ng ating labor market. And one thing that really stick with me po yung yung inclusivity. We are not limiting yung ecozones doon sa mga establishments. We are also encouraging yung participation or involvement po ng mga SMSEs. So, Sir Vern, do you have anything to add po dun sa mga nauna ng insights and comments from our participants? From our panel reactors po.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much, Ms. Eve, and to our PESO manager, Ms. Rai Labrador. Thank you very much for coming. Actually, naka-attend po si Ms. Eve sa aming unang presentation ng draft ng paper namin. And perhaps one thing that I'd like to highlight is that ito po na-highlight ko kanina, I'm very curious that the CREATE law mention about not just giving incentives, but the incentives should be linked to the creation of full, productive, and decent employment. So may ganun po siya na conditionality. And ang realization ko po dito ay it's not enough that we guide investments in in desired profit directions. It is also necessary that we ensure that the benefits are widely shared as possible. Like for instance, yung mini-mention po ni Miss Eve ng PESA, it's not enough that the incentives are just creating jobs. Kailangan na-mention po kanina na there will be some sort of inclusion of greenness. Perhaps in fact may nabasa nga po ako na initiative ng PESA that na they're establishing green eco zones. And we have this law about Green Jobs Act that which mandates the promotion and creation of green jobs in support of our transition to a low carbon economy. So yung ganun pong so there is already we need to recognize this discourse na hindi lang tayo nagbibigay ng incentives. Ito ay dapat nililink rin sa social goods, like for instance full productive and decent employment. So yun ho yung gusto kong i-highlight ho. May kwento sa bawat kwenta na ibinibigay ng gobyerno. Oo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bern. Yes, we would like to agree na while we work towards improvement po dun sa employment generation, no, it is just correct na tingnan natin kung ano rin yung effect po nito sa, katulad po nung nabanggit ni Sir Bern doon sa mga efforts natin for greening, ganyan. And nabanggit din po nga kanina ni Ms. Moraw yung about po dun sa efforts nila or yung pagtingin nila dun sa mga priority sectors concerning yung green jobs. So we're working towards that direction, and we're hoping to see more from the stakeholders and our agencies. So do we have anything po to add? Doon po sa mga nauna po nating comments or insights? All right. If we don't have any additional insights or comments, we'll be reading one question po from one of our participants na nandito sa Zoom. This is from Sir Benjamin Velasco. So this is what is written po. The study is very relevant for investigating employment creation in ecozones and for mining pertinent data. But as everyone knows, we don't just want jobs. Our normative goal is decent jobs. The study indeed mentions decent work. However, a robust set of literature finds decent work deficits in ecozones. The ILO high-level mission this year to probe freedom of association issues was sparkled by the killing in broad daylight of Dennis Sikina, a union organizer in the Cavite Economic Zone in June 2019. So labor rights is a big issue in ecozones. So the questions are as follows. First, did the study consider the proposal to link locator incentives to labor compliance? The second question, why did the study not look at tripartism in ecozones and the lack of tripartite councils as mandated by the PESA law? And then the third question is, why is there no data on unionization in the study? So maybe the researchers or Bern can answer the questions po.
Yes, good question, Sir Benjamin. The most straightforward answer will be that the study only considered one pillar of decent work, and it's just only the employment facilitation and generation. It's going to be an exciting follow-up study on this if we cover the other three pillars of decent work in social dialogue, in which we cover tripartism and unionism, in social protection, whether workers' income are within the ecozones are enough to cover daily living, and then so social protection, social dialogue, and then rights at work. So ang na-cover lang po ng study nito because of very budget and limited time constraints is yung employment generation pillar lang po. So it's going definitely dapat kino-cover rin ho yung ganon. Kasi sa atin po sa Department of Labor and Employment, holistic ang pagtingin sa trabaho. Hindi lang dapat in fact, ang tagline nga natin is not just jobs, but decent jobs. And part of our discourse and definition of decent jobs is that the jobs should provide workers the voice in workplace governance. Workers should be able to freely associate and establish unions. In fact, we have been hearing a lot of reports about certain union busting activities within ecozones. So perhaps it's a good follow-up study to this because ito pong study only covered the employment pillar. And it's going to be an exciting study, follow-up study, if we will cover the other three pillars of decent work, especially yung issue nga po ng unionization and tripartism within the ecozones. This is why the study highlighted in our recommendations the importance of establishing information exchange mechanisms. So lagi kung doon po sa 4 na rekomendasyon ho namin, lagi po namin nire-reinforce yung ability of our stakeholders to freely exchange information so that information asymmetry can be lessened. So pag sinabi po kasi natin information asymmetry, one party has information na hindi alam ng other party. So you need a platform for sharing between and among the stakeholders. So tripartism is very important. So kagaya na sinabi ko nga po, it's going to be an exciting follow-up study if we will cover the other 3 pillars of decent work.
Thank you so much po, Sir Vern. So we hope to answer your questions po, Mr. Benjamin Velasco. So he replied po, thanks for the reply. Looking forward to a follow-up study on decent work in the ecozone. So nagkaroon po tayo ng bagong idea for a follow-up study doon sa mga nabanggit po ni Sir Benjamin Velasco.
In fact, Joe, I was thinking na magandang project proposal na magandang partnership project between DOLE and PESA yung improving the data collection because PESA is collecting data on yung direct local employment. So magandang pag-usapan yan under, di ba, meron nga pong minention na memorandum of agreement between DOLE and PESA. Magandang collaborative iterative project po yung improving data collection. Kasi DOLE has a very specific and nuanced definition of decent work as opposed to what is currently being collected lang ng PESA and other information promotion agencies. So it's going to be a good collaborative project in data collection. Para kapag we have studies like this, identifying and monitoring and evaluating the incentives being offered by government, we have a good sources of data, administrative data.
Yes po, Sir Vern. And very crucial po kasi talaga yung data collection po sa studies and the research para mabigyan natin ng better picture of the situation yung ating mga readers. So thank you so much again, Sir Vern. We have another question po from former Yusek Chato. I will read the question po. Did the research consider classifying or disaggregating the data based on the 419 ecozones, or at least a sampling from the 5 types? MFG ecozones, 78, ICT park centers, 297, tourism, 17, agro-industrial ecozones, 24, and medical, 3. The classification will provide focus signaling on critical skills requirements. If too general or sweeping, the intervention could be resource draining and spread too thin everywhere. Also, would it be possible to do a cost-benefit analysis using the employment data versus the incentives or lost revenue stream? Since PESA has a different incentive scheme from CREATE. In general, then possibly quality of employment using the FTRW.
Yes, Yusek Chato, it is possible we could have a cost-benefit analysis. Medyo hindi lang nga po masyado pa-develop ang administrative data because the CREATE law was just passed 2020 or 2021. So nung tinanong po namin ang TESA and FIRB and other investment promotion agencies, they're still under the process of quality collection. So, but it's good na nakapag-provide po ang PESA sa amin ng magaganda ring sources of data. So yes, it's a good follow-up study po na meron po tayong cost-benefit analysis, and in fact, we are studying na baka pwede rin tayo mag-correlation between employment generation and the fiscal incentives. In our paper, yes, we do have that, yung disaggregation of ecozones by yung types of ecozones, yung may MSEZ, ITPC, TEZ. Meron po kaming ganun sa papel, hindi lang ho na-include dito po sa presentation. Yeah.
Thank you so much po, Sir Vern, and thank you so much din po for that question for Yusek Chanto. So the discussions po talaga nag-arise po yung mga topics that we can also study in the future para mas mabigyan pa tayo ng concepts about dito sa ecozone, sa employment generation. I guess we don't have any more questions po from our online participants, but may we know if Ms. Mogaw and Ms. Labrador have anything to add po doon sa mga nauna ng mga questions or yung comments from our participants? Or but if we don't, yes po?
Wala naman po.
Okay,
Maraming
fine.
salamat.
Maraming salamat din po, Ms. Mogaw. So I guess we're okay na po for this paper. Thank you so much again, Sir Vern, for presenting po yung paper on overview of employment generation in select ecozones in the Philippines. So just like the first discussion po with the paper on evolving a governance framework for workers in the gig economy, we have gained a lot from our researchers and panelists and also from our participants, yung mga questions po nila, no? We've gathered interesting views doon sa role ng ecozones in employment generation, yung mga employment trends, and the bottlenecks din po, and also the recommendations para ma-address yung mga bottlenecks na yun. We hope that this could help our researchers from sa iba't ibang agency, kasama na po yung mga participants natin who studies focus on the same topic. So with that, again, we would like to thank po yung ating pong presenters, researchers, and panel reactors, as well as the participants for this very meaningful discussion on ecozones. I'm now giving again the virtual floor pod to Mr. Marvin. Thank you po.
Thank you very much again, Jo, for moderating our panel discussion for our last session this morning. Maraming salamat din po sa ating presenter, Sir Vern of ILS, for presenting your paper on Ecozone. And of course, maraming salamat po sa ating mga panel reactors, Ms. Labrador of PESA Quezon City and Ms. Lumbis Mogaw of PESA. Now let's proceed with the virtual awarding of the certificates for our panel reactors. To present the award of the certificates, may I please call on our OIC Deputy Executive Director 3, Mr. Camilo Franco S. Cabusas.
Good afternoon. Okay, so I would like to commend the ILS team for making this research conference possible today. And as well as we would like to extend our appreciation to the panel reactors from QC PESO and then from PESA, Ms. Labrador and Ms. Mogaw. Okay, and then I would like to present the certificate of appreciation. So I will read the content of this certificate. So the certificate of appreciation is given to Ms. Labrador and Ms. Mogaw for sharing their knowledge and expertise as a panel reactor during this 12th research conference, gearing up for inclusive, innovative, and sustainable future of work, held on December 13 to 14, 2023 via Zoom, Facebook Live. Signed, Attorney Mary Grace L. Reguer, OIC Executive Director, Institute for Labor Studies. Thank you very much, ma'am. I hope to see you again in our future research conferences. Okay, Marvin?
Thank you so much, OICDED Franco, for presenting the awards. Before we conclude this session, may I request again our panel reactors and our researchers for a photo opportunity. So may we request our panelists and our host to kindly open their cameras for a quick photo op. Okay. So I'll take the picture po in 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay po. One more. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay. So again, maraming salamat po, Miss Eve of PESA and Miss Rai Labrador of PESA Quezon City. And we hope to invite you once again in our future events here in the Institute for Labor Studies. And that concludes our first day of the $12 Research Conference webinar series. On behalf of the Institute for Labor Studies, we are extending our genuine gratitude towards all our attendees on Zoom and Facebook Live. Our apologies po if medyo na-extend po ng konti ang ating time. But thank you for staying with us, and we hope that you have gained valuable insights from the research presentations and from the recommendations and comments from our esteemed panel reactors. Magkita-kita po tayo ulit bukas at 9 a.m. to 12 noon for the day 2 of our research conference. Muli, maraming salamat po and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. But before we leave the meeting room, may I request our hosts and panelists and of course our attendees to open their cameras for our class photo. So our tech team will be promoting you as panelists po for you to open your cameras. Ayan. Sige po. So we'll take the picture po again in 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay. One more. Ayan, may mga iba pa pong participants na nag-open ng cameras. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay po. Again, maraming salamat po for attending the day 1 of our research conference. Muli, magkita-kita po tayo tomorrow at 9 a.m. to 12 noon. We will be using the same link po for our event. Maraming salamat po.
Following the EDSA People Power Revolution, the Institute for Labor and Manpower Studies was abolished by virtue of Executive Order Number 1, 2